Hey, this is Candia Raquel, and you are at the Sensual Sessions Podcast, the place to explore sensing pleasure through your senses and moving in a way that is free from inhibition and full of self expression. If you are not subscribed to this podcast, please go to my website to make sure to get these episodes delivered weekly on your inbox. And it's my name, candiaraquel.com www.candiaraquel.com. And today we have a very special guest. This is the second time we are honored with the presence of Melanie Maar in this podcast. She's a dance artist and educator with an amazing body of work, including the House of Dying, the Sexual, uh, also sessions, and you are uh, also leading a project on process as guide. And I am very happy to have you here again, Melanie. Welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here with you again and to share ourselves and the various things we do together to the tentacles of ourselves merging. And the school is called the School of Dying. And the Sexuality Sessions is what I guide, a mixture between sexuality and sensuality, because
Thanks.
no good words for anything.
Yeah, yeah, they should always be together, sensuality and sexuality, especially the
Yeah.
part of intimacy. And I am very happy that today we are recording an episode exactly on that, that is about being sensually seen. And for our audience, this is part number one. We are exploring the theoretical part on what is about being sensually seen. How comfortable are you with being sensually seen? First off, by yourself. Are you seeing yourself as a sensual being? And if so, are you comfortable of others seeing you as a sensual being? Perhaps your beloved, perhaps, I don't know, people around you when you're dancing in the disco. Well, this is what we are gonna explore here today. So, Melanie, tell us, how do you manage to be comfortable with yourself, with the experience of pleasure that sometimes can be like overwhelming because pleasure can be like diffuse all over the place, uncontrollable, and we often freak out with pleasure. Like, how do you manage to notice how beautiful you are when you're dancing, when you're moving, and how to not get distracted by by the very realization of, I don't know, your own essential splendor and continue riding the waves of delight. Tell us everything we want to know.
Waves of delight.
Yeah.
Yes. As you're speaking, I'm thinking of this continuum between being in front of an audience, being seen, being in front of strangers in the club, being seen, being in front of your beloved, being seen, and being seen by your own self, maybe in the mirror, like the continuum of these ways of seeing and being seen. And the pleasure of it or the comfortability is weaved into me with deep discomfort that most of us have. Even people like me and my colleagues, and you know this on stage, as you go through various waves of being. I remember moments of being thrilled to be watched because it transcends just me, and then in 1 second later feeling completely judged by, oh God, what did I do with my arm? Oh, how does my ass look in this? Oh no. And the next moment again is a moment of pure sensuality and feeling so alive in my own body. And I to me, allowing all these various aspects of ourselves that come up when we experience gaze um, is a way to ride the wave, to always return to a new place or to arrive, let's say, at a new place. I need to include the judgments that come up in my own mind. I need to include the discomforts and contractions that I might feel from the fear of being seen. The sensation, um, a strong sensation always holds the contraction or the thrill, expansion, both. So I'm wondering how we can kind of give something concrete, like standing in front of the mirror, and most of our eyes go right to the place in our body that we despise, hate, or not love too much, or and it's like an attraction. And when I notice that, I'm just take a breath. I'm like, oh, what do you like? What is it that I is new to me in my body when I gaze it in the mirror? What place is actually a place that has given me pleasure in my body? What place in my body is where I want to look at that I'm drawn to? I'm doing this gesture like my neck. I like to look at my neck for the vampires, just offering my neck. Um, so this practice to be kind of not excluding the aspect of me that goes to places where I hold maybe even trauma or dislike or disgust, and let it be as it is. Just expand my experience of myself by exploring other areas, and then to even go deeper, to go away from the surface. And that's our work kind of in all these various ways that we do, to go towards sensually experiencing this form. Because at the end of the day, the form, what it looks like, matters so little when you're in the experiencing, when the form can become the gift that allows me to experience my aliveness and pleasure and strength and pain and all of it through this form. So that may the form dissolve through feeling what it is that I can do and that I experience through another onto my body. So, how to ride the wave from the external form and the eyes that know and name and judge to the internal experience of myself, of my sensuality, of my power, of my softness, and then how to connect that to someone else.
Yes, yes, I'm loving this to realize how our own gaze, starting all gazes, like being touched by the gaze of another, touching another one with your gaze, and now beginning to explore this experience with your own gaze. Like you look at yourself in the mirror, and immediately your attention is driven to to the places that you dislike or you are disgusted and you have judgment upon them, and even places that have a scar of trauma. And I this is like super clear for me as a dancer, that I realized that I always go to the places in my body that had been criticized by teachers or whatever. And it's like being drawn. And I like the image, the metaphorical image of your attention, your focus of mind being as tentacles that touch whatever you lay your focus on. So for example, you can see, I don't know, you all can see my wrinkles. So I see my wrinkles, and now the glance of everyone is touching my wrinkles with attention as a tentacle. And then the thing is that where you focus your attention can become the totality of your awareness and your experience. And it's like leading yourself to an abyss. Like, okay, maybe you want to scarf to dig on trauma and etc. But that's a matter for a therapeutical space with someone expert. And if you really want to do the work, otherwise it's like idle, like there are better things to do with your time and your life. And then comes like catching yourself in the moment that you're like digging with the tentacles of the attention on painful places that you don't like about yourself, and not reacting to that, just acknowledging, like, oh, okay, I am noticing something that is not so pleasant. So let me come back to the full picture, to the full universe of myself, and become curious about other areas in my body that do experience pleasure and that I do like. And you show off your beautiful neck, and then I was like, yes, I also like my neck. and and like, yeah, here's my neck for the vampire to bite. And that's the gift. You are the gift you give to the world. And yes, the gift comes with everything, with the trauma, with the scars, with etc. But why not offering what you deem your best in yourself? Like, this is something I like in me. So why don't you also lay the tentacles of your gaze in my beautiful neck? And it's not about pretense, and it's not about also being humble, but just like a very practical realization of of the sensual beauty in all of us, and how like the tentacles of our attention are alive and we have control over them. So why not being deliberate and creative and self-caressing and pleasure inducing and authenticity reaffirming. And this this makes me feel like kind of relieved and more relaxed with how and who I am now, with my age, with my weight, with my body type, because I feel there's more to me than being perfect. There's more room to experience delight in the realization of our own imperfect and very interesting humanness. So, how can we keep this like self-caressing with the tentacles of our own gaze when we are being seen? Because I have been on stage dancing, and like you, like being in otherworldly delight, like in communion with myself, with the people watching me, and with the universe, and these forces taking over me, and then getting super distracted by my, I don't know, my cellulite in my legs,
Mm-hmm.
or the fake eyelash falling to my cheek, and afraid of everyone watching. and and then it's like the magic is gone. You
Mm-hmm.
don't feel the same as you used to. And this happens to everyone when they face their beloved, like getting naked in front of another person, even though it's the same person you have been married for 20 years, doesn't lessen the fact of getting naked in front of someone else. So how can you keep the connection with your self intimacy so you can allow yourself to be sensually seen?
Mm. It's a beautiful topic, especially the beloved direction. Some people take their clothes off and right away Deutsche Nacktkultur, German culture of, being naked. And some people are very shy. I'm somewhere in between, depending on the situation. I've performed naked many, many times in the nude. Sometimes I take my clothes off fast, depending on who I'm with. And sometimes it's a real deep and big step to take to reveal. And I feel both as precious, whatever one's relationship to revealing is. To me, it's all precious. The practice is the gaze and the judgment in the gaze. And that gaze in our most of the time is connected to rational thinking. I remove my clothes, I'm in the other person's mind, thinking, hearing what they're thinking. Oh, this is too big. Oh, this is too small. They probably think I'm this. The audience might think I'm this. These normal kind of rational thoughts that we get with the gaze. And what I'm practicing and offering is to de-rationalize, de-judgmentalize our gaze, because the gaze is nothing else but attention. That an attention is a beautiful, scary thing, especially when it's focused. How can we let the gaze become um, an experience that is opening like a portal rather than closing like a judgment? And the portal for me is accessible when I notice whoever looks at me, I'm looking at them at the same time. The one-way gaze lets my judgment come up. It's very much about me. What's up with me? And the moment that I realize I am seeing them at the same time, I'm seeing their form, I'm seeing their presence, I'm seeing their. So to open it more like a two-way connection is a way for me to also supersede or to have a stronger sensation than judgment and rationale. Let it be there, that judgment, and just open more. And in that more, the audience who looks at me has spirit, has soul. I'm souls and spirits are looking at me. Let them judge whatever they want. I don't even tune into that radio station. I want to tune in the portal that opens when I'm gazed at and when I gaze back. So there's something about practicing to sense the texture, the quality, the atmosphere of gaze, my own and another's gaze, and to see it as a connection that opens a lot of possibilities of attention and experience, and to allow the noise of the rational and the judgment to become a little less loud by really feeling into the gaze and what it does to my body and what it can bring another person and open in them.
Yes, I'm loving this. I remember that the last time I saw Madonna in a concert in Mexico City, I was like, Madonna is about, I don't know, 62 years old. And she had this thing with her knee. And I remember the first time I saw her 20 years ago, she was jumping all over the place. And I was like, with this, and I am super open and I am super fan of Madonna, but I had like this judgmental discourse going on. And she came on stage like a power woman with a body of a 72-year-old woman. But the judgment, the discursive thinking of judgment lasted like 2 seconds. And then I was completely enraptured but by that human being that is Madonna. Like it's it's herself, her soul.
Energy, presence.
Yeah, and her presence.
Mm.
And she said something very important. She said, "It's easier to show your ass than your feelings." And,
Hello.
and definitely, it's for many
Mm.
people, it's easier to to confess their sexual attraction for someone else than to confess their love for them. Like it's easier to
Ooh.
show the body than that, and even bare the body, get naked and go into intercourse, than to unzipping your chest and letting this skin of the chest become transparent and let your heart be seen. But what happened when I saw Madonna is that I saw her essence, her soul, her heart, her her being fully alive in that moment, which in turn like bring me in touch with my own aliveness and with the glory of this now.
Mm.
That is like the only thing that we for real actually have. And this brings me to what you say, like let the judgment be there, your own judgment about yourself, and the assumptions that you may have about the judgments that your beloved may be having about your body that you will never know because you cannot read their mind. But let that be there and just lower the volume of that radio station in order to be able to tune into the frequency of what's meaningful, that is the soul contact with another, the presence with another, and the offering, like this is me, and I am offering my dance or my love or my desire if you're in bed with the beloved, and understanding and respecting that is up to the other person to do whatever they want with that. That's not your problem. That's their responsibility. And then they will have a chance to see how they reciprocate with their own gaze, with their own attention, with their own way of caressing you with the tentacles of their awareness. But this can only happen when one like stops fighting with the judgment, stops like trying to make that quiet or unexist. Like, no, you said it wonderfully, like let it be there, judgment from all parts, but there's more to the moment, that there's more to the experience, and this that goes beyond is a space where intimacy can happen, and the intimacy of discovering this very moment that is different with someone you may know from a long time, or you may be very comfortable getting naked because my grandmother and great grandmothers were Dutch, and they were walking around the house with only the underwear because Mexico is very hot. So they didn't make the adjustment that it's another culture. So here in Mexico, if you're hot, you change your clothes to something lighter. They just took away their clothes. And yeah, I mean they put the dress on if I came to the house with a classmate or someone. But even in the no matter from which culture you're coming from, there's always this consenting yourself at the edge of the mystery in this moment to bear yourself, to allow yourself be essentially seen. And I really want to get a physical sense of this.
Yeah.
So I think this is a good time to wrap up this theoretical part about being sensually seen and caressing yourself and others and being caressed by the tentacles of attention. Do you want to add something to wrap this up?
I think this is great that we can move into experiencing and the practice of seeing and being seen and gaze and sensing self and other through our bodies, and I'll guide an experience.
Great. So this is the part one, the theoretical part of being sensually seen. Next week, we will share with you, dear sensualist, the part number two, that is the practical part. So stay tuned. And if you want to know more about Melanie's work and learn from her, go to her website, which is melaniemar.com, and go follow her on Instagram. Her handle is the same, her name, Melanie Maar. And if you haven't already, go grab the free guide to awaken sensuality on my website, which is my name, candiaraquel.com, or www.candiaraquel.com. Until part two, do please remember to take the time to sense your fire so you can share the flame.